A very warm welcome, everyone, to this EPI Foundation special webinar on Nigeria's forest elephants. I'm John Scanlon, and I'm the CEO of the EPI Foundation. Wherever you are today, whether you're in Nigeria or elsewhere in Africa or anywhere in the world, it's great to have you with us. And if you are listening in French, there is simultaneous interpretation. Et si vous écoutez en français, il y a une interprétation simultanée. Now, the EPI Foundation is the secretariat of the EPI, and the EPI stands for the Elephant Protection Initiative. It's an alliance of African countries with common policies on elephant conservation. Now, we started out with 5 African countries back in 2014, and we are now 26 countries. And one of those EPI countries is, of course, Nigeria, which joined us in 2018. And since then, the EPI Foundation has worked very closely with successive Nigerian governments on the securing and destruction of ivory stockpiles and in the development in 2024 of a 10-year National Elephant Action Plan for Nigeria. Nigeria has critically endangered populations of both savanna and forest elephants. And in total, we're talking of just a few hundred animals. It really is an urgent situation. Now, today we're going to focus on the forest elephants with 2 very exciting films from Okomu and Itasin Forest in southern Nigeria. We'll also be hearing from the distinguished chair of our board, Sharon Ikeazor, who many of you will know from her time as Minister of the Environment of Nigeria. Now, we know that you're going to have a lot of questions, and please do put them in the chat or the Q&A area, and we're going to try to get to as many as possible and to put them to our panelists. Now, whether you are in Nigeria or from further afield, please do join in the conversation. In fact, feel free to broaden the conversation out if you feel there are issues or experiences from your own countries that you'd like to share. We'd really love to hear from you. Now, in a moment, my colleague Barnaby Phillips will introduce the films, but first, it is an enormous honour for us to listen to the opening address from Nigeria's Minister for the Environment, Malam Balarabe Abbas Lawal, who has sent us this wonderful message from Abuja.
The head of Secretariat, Chief Executive Officer of the EPI Foundation, the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, my sister, Honourable Sharon, Ikeazor, Nigeria's former Minister of State for Environment. The EPI Coalition of African Member States, led by Head of State, Ministers, and National Focal Points from the member countries. The EPI Leadership Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you to this high-level webinar on Nigeria's forest elephants. We gather today not only to discuss this iconic species, but also to affirm our collective responsibility to protect a population that is now critically endangered. Elephants are key species, socially complex, transboundary, and essential to ecological balance. Nigeria is privileged to host both the forest elephant and the savanna elephant. These magnificent animals maintain healthy ecosystem by creating pathways through dense vegetation, dispersing seeds that sustain forest biodiversity, providing access to underground water in dry seasons, contributing to carbon sequestration and climate resilience, and enriching soils through nutrient cycling. While elephant populations have declined across much of Africa, Nigeria's remaining forest elephants survive in key areas such as Okomu National Park, Cross Rivers National Park, with occasional sighting in communities across Niger Delta. However, they face serious ongoing threats from habitat loss, poaching, and increasing human pressures. Nigeria remains firmly committed to elephant conservation. Internationally, we participate in the African Elephant Coalition and the Elephant Protection Initiative. Nationally, the Endangered Species Act, the National Forest Policy, and the National Elephant Action Plans provide a strong foundation for protecting these animals and their habitat. As with the short films on Okomu National Park and Itasin Forest, I encourage all of us to reflect on the broader significance of elephant conservation. Protecting elephant is not just about saving a species, it's about preserving biodiversity, strengthening ecosystem resilience, and securing a sustainable future for generations to come. I call on all participants to engage actively in the discussion and contribute practical solutions that will strengthen conservation efforts across Nigeria and beyond. Together we can secure the future of the Nigerian horse elephant, a symbol of our national heritage and ecological resilience. I commend the organizers, sponsors, development partners, and all stakeholders for their continued dedication to advancing elephant conservation in Nigeria. Once again, I welcome all of you and wish you a productive, insight, and successful webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you, Minister Abbas Lawal. I'm Barnaby Phillips in London. I'm head of comms with the EPI Foundation. London is my hometown, but Nigeria will always be one of my homes. I was lucky enough to live 3 memorable years in Lagos, and I've stayed connected with that country in many ways ever since. It's a great pleasure for me now to introduce Tunde Morakinyo of EPI Foundation, a Nigerian-led NGO which is really taking the lead in conservation. As many of you will know, EPI has done great work in Gashaka Gumti in eastern Nigeria, working hand in hand with national parks. And what a really spectacular landscape that is, by the way. But it is also now supporting national parks in Okomu Forest in Edo State. And Tunde, am I right? Okomu has a small but viable population of forest elephants.
Thank you, Barnaby. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tunde Morakinyo. I'm the Executive Director of EPI Foundation. We're a Nigeria-registered not-for-profit organization established in 2018 to protect Nigeria's national parks through ranger-led law enforcement in partnership with the local communities. We do this through long-term management and partnership agreements with the National Park Service. And we also aim to demonstrate that private sector-led investments can make conservation profitable. We have signed 230 partnership agreements with the Federal National Park Service to protect and develop 2 national parks in Nigeria. One is Gashaka Gumti National Park in Adamawa and Taraba states on the border with Cameroon. But very importantly, the second park is Okomu National Park in Edo State, which is just a 45-minute drive from Benin City in southern Nigeria. In both parks, Annie's vision is to establish the 2 foremost ecotourism destinations in Nigeria. We aim to rewild these parks to restore their ecological integrity, and this might mean reintroducing animals that have become extinct from these places in order to restore an ecological balance in these parks. But very, very importantly, we aim for these parks to become engines of development for the local communities and also for Nigeria. This last point is very, very important to us. For us, it's very important that both Gashaka Gunti and Okomu should provide jobs and boost the local economy so that communities are incentivized to protect the parks and to protect nature, since protection of nature attracts investment into their communities. In the last 8 years since we started, EPI has grown from what was initially just 2 employees to 280 employees, including 200 rangers. And we are especially proud that 60% of our funding comes from the Nigerian private sector. So conservation in Nigeria is about Nigerians themselves putting funding into protecting their own nature. This is not about foreigners helping to protect Nigeria's nature. It's about Nigerians themselves supporting the conservation of their own resources. Coming to Okomu National Park, Okomu National Park is a very special place indeed. It is one of the last large expanses of intact rainforest left in southwest Nigeria, covering about 200 square kilometers. It is covered in thick, dense rainforest, harboring one of 3 small but viable populations of the critically endangered African forest elephant. We think that there are probably about only 200 of these left in Nigeria. Okomu also harbors West Africa's largest population of African grey parrots, and it's the most important stronghold for the white-throated Gwenon monkey, which is only found in southwest Nigeria and the Republic of Benin. However, unfortunately, Okomu is threatened by illegal logging, poaching for bushmeat, and farm encroachment. We began working in Okomu in 2022 with the National Park Service. And when we began work, the first thing that we did together with the National Park Service was to recruit, train...
fait avec le service de parc national, c'était de pouvoir déployer des
66 rangers, and I'm pleased to say that these rangers have effectively stopped almost all the illegal logging, and we're now starting to seriously tackle the poaching and farm encroachment that threaten this precious national park and its elephants. The rangers have brought security to the region, stopping the kidnapping and banditry that plague the local villages. And for the first time in decades, people feel safe to go about their economic activities. We're also investing in education and microfinance programs for village SMEs in order to grow the local economy. And as I said earlier, to incentivize community participation in the protection of Okomu. Last November, Peter Abanyama, our Okomu project manager, called me to tell me that a baby elephant had been found wandering alone in an oil palm plantation next to the national park. And I would like to show you a film now about this baby elephant and the significance of this baby elephant for our project. Thank you. What I really want people to take away from this story is hope. It's easy, I think, to get overwhelmed by all the bad news that there is out there. We can turn environmental destruction into a positive story for Nigeria and for the world. Okomu National Park is in the southwest of Nigeria. The thing that makes Okomu so special is that the forests of southwest Nigeria are biologically different from forests elsewhere in the country. And then Okomu also contains a very important population of the critically endangered African forest elephant.
In the last 30 years, the population of our elephants have dropped from about 1,005 or more to a mere 400 in the whole of Nigeria. So we are at the brink of losing our beautiful elephants.
The park faces key challenges. One key challenge is that the southern boundary of the park hasn't been demarcated, and that has led to farm encroachment and logging still taking place in the south of the park. Another big challenge facing the park is poaching. We've dealt with logging to an extent, but poaching is a much more significant problem, and probably quite likely the cause of this baby elephant being found in a neighboring plantation.
It was on Sunday, I was at home, and I got a call that they have found a baby elephant in the boundaries of the national park.
So we ran to the scene and we discovered a young male calf that was stranded, seemed to be looking for the mom. We don't know for how long, maybe for more than a day at that time. First, we thought, let's take the animal back to look for the mother in the forest. So we did that. It came back.
The elephants of Okomu are very, very, very scared of people. As soon as the elephants hear you coming, or as soon as they smell you, they start moving. How will you even see the mother or get close to the mother in thick rainforest? You can't. So we had no choice but to help rescue and raise this baby elephant.
This is actually the first time we are seeing the baby elephant at a very close range and rescuing it. This is our first time too.
What do we do? As an organization, we're not set up to look after animals. I contacted the Elephant Crisis Fund immediately and asked them if they could put us in touch with some specialists.
I'm in Zambia and I got a call about Nigeria. My first thought was, how can I help these guys? So I supplied some information, there were some phone calls, some messages, but it became apparent to me that the best way to do this is to get on site.
Every animal rehab is unique. There's so much you can read in textbooks, but hands-on is rehabbing.
To start with, the most important thing is dealing with its nutrition. They've lost the ability to feed from their mother, so we then have to replicate what's in mum's milk, and that does change over months and years. When elephant mums produce their first milk, it's high in lactose for 3 or 4 weeks. After a month, the lactose drops like it's fallen off a cliff.
Elephant rescue also takes a long time. We're talking of years. So you're going to now need a committed team of individuals that are dedicated to this animal's life.
You can tip the bottle a little more. Up. You can, just this hand, you can tip up. That's it. Just to make sure that you see, now you can hear him. That's the noise you're looking for. That's the same as drinking from mum. Well done, guys. Small signs are what keep you going. It's relationship with the carers. If it's starting to be happy to see them, it's starting to want to be with them, that's a small sign that it's accepting its changed circumstances. Little things like, oh, that's the first day it's done a mud bath. That's a very natural behaviour. It's a sign that mentally the elephant is feeling more comfortable. So we can look for small signs everywhere.
Every day he's with us is a huge win. Every day the stakes get higher. We are breathing easier now, but we know that we still have a long way to go.
Having to rescue a baby elephant is terribly sad. Yes, it's cute, yes, it's sweet, but the fact that we've had to rescue a baby elephant shows you that there's something very, very wrong.
If we get everything right with keeping the elephant healthy, the most important thing is we protect the habitat they're going to go back to. Because there's not much point in rehabilitating any animal to go back in the bush if there is no bush.
Now we are at the point where Nigerians must decide, what are we going to do next? Are we going to be committed to saving what's left of our biodiversity?
This baby elephant could become a great symbol for the rescue of the park. It's important that we communicate why we have an orphan baby elephant on our hands and how it's indicative of a problem that we still need to solve.
Thank you very much, Tunde, and thank you, Ani, thank you, Tunde, thank you, Wild Africa as well, who made that beautiful film and allowed us to share it today. We're very grateful to them. Now we're going to go closer to Lagos, to Ogun State, to hear about the critical situation in Itasin Forest, not a national park and under a lot of threat. Who knew there are elephants so close to Lagos? Well, a new NGO has stepped in to try and address the situation there, and it is my pleasure to introduce Simi Shonibare of the Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust. Simi, am I right? I think you formed your organization in around 2022 with a feeling that it really was now or never for Itasin's elephants.
Absolutely, and thank you, Barnaby. Good morning, distinguished guests, representatives of government, conservation partners, members of the Elephant Protection Initiative, and everyone joining us from Nigeria and around the world. My name is Simi Shonibare, I'm the founder of Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust, a Nigerian conservation organization dedicated to protecting the African forest elephants of Itasin Forest in Ogun State, Nigeria. The word Erin means elephant in Yoruba, and our vision is simple: to create a future where people, elephants, and nature can coexist and thrive together. First, I would like to thank the EPI for creating this platform and for shining a spotlight on one of Nigeria's most overlooked conservation landscapes. Many people are surprised to learn that elephants still exist so close to Lagos, one of Africa's largest cities. Yet hidden within the forests of Ogun State is a small but important population of elephants facing increasing pressure from habitat loss, human encroachment, and growing conflict with surrounding communities. My journey into conservation was not a conventional one. I am a lawyer by training, and I come from a real estate and development background. Like most people, I was astonished when I learned about Ogun State still had a population of elephants. I remember sitting at dinner with friends and thinking, how is it possible that such an iconic species exists so close to Lagos, yet so few people know about it? Without fully appreciating the scale of the challenge ahead, I decided that if these elephants were still here, then they were worth fighting for. That decision began a journey that continues today, a journey to protect this remarkable species while helping communities live safely and productively alongside them. In 2025, that journey was brought sharply into focus when a farmer tragically lost his life during an encounter with an elephant on the edge of Itasin Forest. That incident highlighted a difficult reality. Both people and elephants were losing. Communities were suffering genuine hardship, while elephants were becoming increasingly vulnerable as their habitat continued to shrink. Faced with this reality, Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust mobilized with renewed urgency to develop practical, community-led solutions that would protect both the people and elephants. Over the past year, we have worked closely with local communities, traditional leaders, the Ogun State government, and conservation partners to address the challenges facing Itasin Forest. Our efforts are focused on reducing human-elephant conflict, strengthening community engagement, improving awareness, supporting alternative livelihoods, and implementing practical interventions such as the construction of an electric fence to protect farms while safeguarding the elephants. Most importantly, we have learned that conservation cannot succeed without local communities. The people who live alongside wildlife must be partners in conservation, not simply observers of it. Their knowledge, participation, and aspirations must remain at the center of every solution we pursue. But our ambitions extend far beyond conflict mitigation. Our long-term vision is to transform Itasin Forest into a globally recognized model for conservation-led development. We envision a future where forests are protected, where local communities derive sustainable economic benefits from conservation, and where people find opportunities as conservation professionals, researchers, guides, and entrepreneurs. We believe conservation should not be viewed as a cost, but rather it should be viewed as an investment in biodiversity, climate resilience, rural livelihoods, and sustainable economic growth. If we get this right, Itasin Forest can become a powerful example of how conservation and development can work hand in hand. My hope is that future generations will not speak about the African forest elephants as a species that once lived in southwestern Nigeria. Instead, they will speak about communities, government, conservation organizations, and international partners came together to secure its future. The story of Itasin is still being written, but I do remain optimistic. The commitment we've seen from local communities, the support of our partners, and the growing awareness of the importance of these elephants gives me confidence that success is possible. Today, I'm proud to share with you our first documentary, which tells the story of Itasin Forest, its people, and its elephant. I do hope it inspires all of us to imagine a future where agriculture flourishes, communities prosper, forests are protected, and elephants and people live together in harmony. Thank you.
In Itasin village, the morning begins early. Farmers walk towards their fields. Mothers prepare food for the day ahead. Children set off along narrow paths to school. Life here is simple, but it is also hard, and it belongs entirely to the people who live it. Just beyond the last farms, the land changes. The forest begins, and within that forest lives something extraordinary. A herd of African forest elephants. They arrived here in 2018, migrating from Okomu Forest Reserve. Since then, the elephants have made the Itasin forest and its surrounding landscape their home. They share this land with the people. The same trees, the same soil, the same rivers. Whether either side was ready for it or not. For a while, elephants and people kept mostly to their own spaces, but forests do not remain the same forever. Over the years, unsustainable logging inside the forest has steadily reduced the elephants' habitat. As their world became smaller, the elephants began moving outward, toward the farms, toward the crops, toward the food. For a farmer who wakes at dawn to find an entire cassava harvest destroyed overnight, the loss is devastating. The crop is food for the family. It is income. It is survival. Gone in a single night.
Lọ́dún yìí kò tí lè jóṣù méjì bàbá ìlú fẹ́ lọ para àwọn ìgbọ́n kan àwọn wa wọ́n lọ kámẹ́rà ẹ̀ wà lọ́wọ́ ọmọ yìí tó bá ti dìbí tẹ̀.
Frustration grew, and understandably so. And when frustration has nowhere to go, it can turn into something worse. In April 2021, a young bull elephant was shot. The animal suffered for hours before dying. But the suffering did not belong to the elephants alone. On the 28th of July 2025, the conflict claimed a human life as well. A 49-year-old man named Musa Kala was killed in an encounter with an elephant. A painful reminder that when people and wildlife collide, grief exists on both sides. This is not simply a wildlife story. It is a crisis. Something had to change, and it had to begin with a conversation. Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust came to Itasin village with a simple approach. Not to impose a solution, but to listen. Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust is a non-profit conservation organization dedicated to protecting biodiversity and promoting responsible stewardship of natural ecosystems while strengthening sustainable livelihoods for surrounding communities. They sat with the people of the Itasin forest landscape, farmers, elders, community leaders, and residents. They listened to the stories of crops destroyed, of income lost, of fear when walking near the forest.
Help me. I need your help. So they be on bit to won do me man worry me lọ́dọọdún. every year níbẹ̀ máa ń worry mi débi pé àwọn ibi tó ti wọ́n dùn mí bí bọ́n ẹbí wa òun ló láyé báyìí débi pé ó kún apá yẹn nígbà yẹn bàbá yẹn dẹ̀ ti wà ókè ń sìn bọ́ ó máa ń dùn mí lọ́dọọdún ìwà mi náà òun ló kún wa ìbá yìí tẹ́ bá wo ìbá yìí pé ìbá yìí wù òun ló kún bẹ́ẹ̀ bọ́.
àdúrà wa ni pé ìbáṣepọ̀ àwa àti àwọn yóò mú yes.
Because the people of Itasin Forest are not a problem to be managed, they are the center of everything. Any conservation effort that does not place the community at its heart will never succeed. In that meeting, the conversation was honest. The community spoke about living between a forest they could not safely use and a conflict they did not choose. And Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust listened. Then they offered practical solutions, not promises, a plan, a phased approach designed to protect both people and wildlife. By the end of that meeting, something had shifted. People who had begun the day sitting across from one another were now sitting side by side, working together. The first step of phase 1 is the construction of an electric fence along the boundary of the forest. This is not a wall. It does not shut the community out or trap the elephants inside. It is simply a boundary, a clear, humane line that tells both sides where they belong. For the community, it means farms can finally be protected. No more waking at dawn to find fields destroyed. No more risking dangerous encounters while trying to defend a harvest. The fence restores farmer security and their land. For the elephants, it means something equally important: space. With a protected habitat inside the forest, they are no longer forced by hunger or shrinking territory into dangerous encounters with people. The fence protects both sides, and importantly, it was designed with the community, not imposed upon them. The people of Itasin Forest know this land. They know where the elephants move. They know where farms are most vulnerable. Their knowledge is what makes the solution work. One fence, two sides protected, built together, but the plan does not stop there. The second step in phase 1 may seem surprisingly simple: chili peppers. Around the farms, communities will plant chili peppers, a natural deterrent that elephants instinctively avoid. Giving the community a tool is one thing. Giving them a livelihood is something else entirely. Chili is also a crop. It grows, it can be harvested, and it can be sold. In local markets, in Lagos, wherever there is demand, which in Nigeria is everywhere. So the same boundary that protects a farm can also generate income. A farmer who once stood helpless, watching elephants destroy crops, can now plant chili along the edge of that same field, protecting the farm, supporting the family, and strengthening the community. This is what community-driven conservation looks like. It does not ask people to sacrifice their livelihoods for wildlife. It creates solutions where protecting nature and protecting people become the same goal. Phase 1 is only the beginning. The work continues. But something important has already been built here: trust. Trust between a conservation organization and a community that had every reason to be cautious. The people of Itasin did not ask for elephants on their doorstep. They did not ask for years of conflict and loss. But they came to the meeting. They spoke honestly. They listened, and they agreed to try something new. That takes courage. Today, the elephants are still here, still moving through the forest, still alive. And for the first time, the people living beside them have real tools, real support, and a real reason to believe that coexistence is possible. This is the Itasin Forest landscape, and this is where a new story begins. Good for them, good for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Simi, and thank you, Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust. Thank you, Simi. Thank you, Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust. We're going to have a Q&A session, question and answer session with Tunde and Simi in a moment. So please write any questions you have into the chat box. And that discussion will be chaired by my colleague, Ulysse Corrigone, Director of State Engagement with the EPI Foundation, who will be joining us today from Cotonou, just next door to Nigeria. But before that, I am delighted to introduce the Honourable Sharon Ikeazor, Chair of the EPI Foundation Board, whom many of you, of course, will remember from her time as a Nigerian Minister of the Environment. And Sharon joins us live today from Abuja. Sharon, lovely to see you. Over to you.
Thank you, Barnaby. Thank you, Barnaby. Good morning, Honourable Minister, dear colleagues, fellow conservationists, our EPI ambassadors and friends. It's an absolute pleasure for me to speak today in my capacity as the chair of the board of the EPI Foundation. As others have said, the EPI is a very unique African alliance of 26 countries dedicated to elephant conservation, whilst improving the livelihoods of its people. The foundation is the small and dedicated secretariat which seeks to support member countries to implement their policies. I can never get enough of conversations about Nigeria's elephants, so I'm very happy for today's event. Then I'm proud that whilst in office, we were able to make such significant progress towards the introduction of a new wildlife law. And I congratulate my successor in office, Minister Balarabe Lawal, and the Nigerian National Assembly for the further progress they have since made. And I'm very certain that Mr. President will sign this bill into law when he gives his assent. What we have just seen together in the two short films from Okomu and Itasin shows us the scale of the challenge we face in Nigeria. If we are to save our remaining elephants, only about 400 are left, as we were told. We saw the impact of illegal logging and poaching and the encroachment of farmers into what is supposed to be protected areas. We've also seen the impact of human-elephant conflict and the loss of life. The situation is indeed critical, but we must also know that we have seen what we've just seen now are grounds for hope. In Itasin, we saw how a new NGO is stepping up to the challenge and looking for solutions that involve the local community and offer new economic opportunities. To Simi and your team at Erin, we say thank you. Ushe. And in Okomu, the fate of one baby elephant is a metaphor, very symbolic, because if we can nurse this one helpless creature into adulthood, who is to say that we cannot also save Nigeria's last forest elephants and the forest they inhabit? Tunde and colleagues at ANI, we congratulate you on this feat. And may I ask if the baby elephant has been named? That's my question. We currently face a very challenging economic situation at home in Nigeria and across the world. So I agree wholeheartedly with the message from the two films. We cannot call on our people to make further sacrifices just in order to protect wildlife. Instead, we must look creatively for solutions that work for both. I urge Nigerians watching this event to reflect on how they can help. Contributions from industry and businesses towards environmental protection is one area that we have perhaps lagged behind than other countries, and we must remedy this. But for a moment, can you imagine a Nigeria without forests or elephants? We need our forests for rain, for climate, for soil protection, and we also need our last few elephants and recognizing their potential in providing significant ecological, sociocultural, and economic benefits for humankind. They are, after all, an important part of our culture and natural heritage, so we must continue to protect them. So I thank you all for your kind attention, and I look forward to the question and answer session of this webinar. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. My name is Ulysse Kologone, Director of State Engagement at the Elephant Protection Initiative Foundation, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's Q&A discussion. Before we begin, I would like to express my appreciation to our previous speakers and to all those who have contributed to this event. I would like to thank His Excellency Malam Abbas Lawal, Honourable Minister of Environment of Nigeria, for his inspiring opening remarks and for the government of Nigeria's continued commitment to wildlife conservation and biodiversity protection. I also like to thank John Scanlon, our CEO, for setting this scene so effectively and reminding us the importance of Nigerian forest elephant within broader conservation landscape. Thank you, Excellency Sharon Ikeazor, Chair of the EPI Foundation Board, for your insightful remarks and your long-standing leadership in advancing conservation efforts in Nigeria and across Africa. A special thank to Barnaby and Clara for guiding us through this program. And leading. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Ulysse. We can hear you. We've got you back now. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So a special thank to you, Barnaby and Clara, for your spirit guiding us today through today's program. And finally, I would like also to thank Tunde and Simi for their powerful presentation and the inspiring work they are leading on the ground to protect Nigeria's remaining forest elephant. The two films we have just watched has given us much food for thought, and they highlight the challenges of habitat loss, illegal logging, human-elephant conflict, and the reality of conserving critically small elephant population. In the chat, we have received a number of excellent questions from participants, and I'm delighted to begin our discussion now. I will be there together with my other colleagues as well, if there is question related to the API, to give you the better answers. So, Tunde, let me start with you. The film from Okomu that you displayed, that you show, was both inspiring and giving hope. And we heard about the progress made in reducing illegal logging. But participants would like to know, from your perspective, what has been the single most important factor behind this achievement, and what lessons could be replicated in other protected areas across Nigeria and West Africa?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to answer the question that was posed by an honorable Minister Sharon Ikeazor. She asked what was the name of the elephant.
Yeah.
The baby elephant is called Agbaibo, which is a local name, and Agbaibo was the name of the ranger that looked after the elephant when it was first rescued. The elephant is absolutely attached to Agbaibo and the other keepers. The elephant follows the keepers absolutely everywhere, and you can see the strong bond that had developed between little Agbaibo and his keepers. But it was all the rangers who unanimously decided that the name Agbaibo should be the name for the elephant. So that's the name that has stuck.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
In terms of, I think, our two biggest achievements in Okomu, I think I can't say there's one single big achievement. We really have two very big achievements. The first very big achievement that we accomplished was through recruiting 66 rangers from the local communities, training and equipping these rangers. Together with the National Park Service, we were able, in a very short space of time, to more or less stamp out the illegal logging that was devastating the forests of Okomu National Park. When I first got to Okomu, I remember hearing chainsaws 24/7, even during the night. It was really, really, really alarming. Whereas I was in Okomu just last week, and I was there for 4 days in the bush, and we did not hear a chainsaw once. So this is an enormous achievement because as Liz, the vet, said on the film about Okomu, there's no point trying to protect elephants if there is no bush, no forest for them to live in. So saving the forest from illegal logging, I think, was an enormous achievement. But I think the second really, really important achievement was the deep engagement that we've conducted with the local communities surrounding Okomu National Park. I think similar to the Itasin project, unless you have the buy-in and the support of the local communities, you are never, ever going to be able to protect the forest and protect the elephants. And really importantly, it's important that the communities have an economic stake from the protection of their forests and their elephants. We have put an enormous amount of effort into engaging with the local communities, engaging the women, the school children, the farmers, all the people living around the forest. And one of the things that we do is we support a program where we channel microfinance funds into small and medium enterprises in the communities all around the park. So they actually are able to improve their livelihoods as a result of monies coming in to protect Okomu National Park. We also put a lot of work into engaging the school children and all the people in town hall meetings all around the park. So that community buy-in and support, as well as protection of the forest, I think are the two biggest achievements that we've made as a project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tunde. So what lesson do you think that can be shared and replicated in other protected areas? What do you simply can be shared and from your experience?
I think the most important thing is first of all, you need good protection. You need well-trained, well-equipped rangers to be able to patrol an area to curtail illegal activities. But very, very, very importantly, you need the support of the local people. Unless you have the support of the local people, no matter how many rangers you have, no matter what equipment they have, they will never successfully protect an area unless you have the buy-in and the support of the local people. One of the things that our local rangers did was to bring security back to the area. Many rural areas in Nigeria are plagued by kidnapping, by banditry, and because of the security that the rangers brought back to the local area, people are now able to go about their economic activities without fear of being kidnapped or fear of being hit by armed robbers when they go to their farms or go to markets. So there's that social license to operate, that local support for protection of the forest. And for me, that is the really, really big lesson. We're not going to be able to protect elephants anywhere in Africa unless we really, really gain the support of the local people and they have an economic stake in the protection of elephants and forests.
Thank you so much. Simi, turning to you, the situation in Itasin is particularly interesting because you said that elephants are surviving outside a national park. So in this situation, what gives you the greatest hope for the future of Itasin forest? Because you also talk about human-elephant conflict. So what is giving you the greatest hope in this kind of situation?
Thank you. I think the greatest hope that I've seen so far is that the forest itself has been pronounced as a wildlife sanctuary by the Ogun State government. That at least starts the process for the official gazettement of Itasin Forest as a protected area. And then it is also the communities open to different solutions and to solve the human-elephant conflict that we have seen over the past few years. For instance, and the communities have been very much a part of, the installation of the electric fence itself. So when we started when we started thinking about how we could at least curtail the elephant incursions into the cassava farms, we had initially wanted to install the fence on the community side. And one of the suggestions that they made was, the restriction in terms of their own development of their own land, so to say. And what would happen, if there are kids running around and then they're electrocuted by an electric fence, for instance. So they suggested that we install the fence on the forest side, which we found to actually make better sense in terms of, long-term development, in terms of from a health and safety perspective, etc. So it's the openness of the community as well to try something new. And there is many opportunities that we can develop from a forest that is so close to Lagos, whether it's agriculture, as we've touched on, the chili peppers, whether it's cassava processing, because there are huge cassava farms all around the forest itself, as well as tourism as well, which, as Tunde mentioned, it's very, very difficult to see a forest elephant. However, there are areas that present itself an opportunity to showcase these elephants. And, so those are just some of the things that give me encouragement that, we can, safeguard the elephants. And I should also mention that the elephants are breeding, so there is an opportunity for these elephants to survive. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? And so those are the things that I will say that give me most encouragement.
Thank you so much, but staying with you, you mentioned electric fence, and you have a question in the chat saying that, do we have risk mitigation plan in place to avoid unwanted incident like electrocution of community members? And what is the sustainability plan for continued powering of the electric fence, example solar and so forth? So what can you share with us about this question?
Okay, so recently we received, we've received a lot of support from the EPI as well as the Elephant Crisis Fund in terms of how the electric fence has been constructed. So they have provided us with, the elephant toolkit to ensure that whatever it is that we're actually constructing achieves its, global best practices. And for instance, one of the things that we will be installing is, big yellow signs just to let people as well as elephants know that there's an offense, coming up close to you. And then we also have employed community scouts, and they will be part of the process to maintain, the fences themselves, clear the fences from, falling branches and the like. So there is a sort of a plan to not only, complete the construction of the fence, but also maintain the fence over the long term. And of course, as I mentioned, we are also putting in places sort of danger signs to ensure that we're able to reduce any form of health and safety hazards to the greatest extent possible.
Okay, thank you so much. So before turning to the support, because I can see that both of your projects depend on strong partnership there's a question talking about the corridor. Is there any corridor between the two forests you talk about, Tunde? Is there any connection between these two forests?
Unfortunately, there isn't a connection between Okomu and Itasin. I think the forests are possibly 150 kilometers apart, maybe even longer, and certainly Okomu is almost completely surrounded by farmland. There are some swamp forests to the south of Okomu, which potentially could link the elephants to more swampy habitat in the Niger Delta. But in many ways, to all intents and purposes, Okomu is becoming almost entirely isolated and surrounded by farmland. Even I believe, for the elephants of Itasin, they face a similar challenge. Right across Nigeria, agriculture means that forests are being cleared everywhere, and increasingly elephants are becoming isolated. But certainly, I think for us, the most important thing is to protect these elephants first of all, and then once we've been able to secure these elephants, we could begin to think about wildlife corridors through working with farmers, maybe at some point in the future. But I think given the threats that the elephants face at the moment, the priority really is to protect these forests and to protect and protect these elephants. And then sometime in the future, we may be able to think about ecological connectivity, but I think it's too early to think about that first. We need to save these forests and these elephants first of all.
Thank you so much, Tunde. So now, moving forward, we know that the work you are doing needs, in terms of sustainability, to be strongly supported. So can you share with us any experience on government support you are already having or you are expecting?
So I think first of all, Annie is working within a national park, and the national park comes under the authority of the National Park Service, which is a federal agency. It was actually the National Park Service who invited Annie to partner with them to protect Okomu National Park. They are the ones who give us the mandate to be able to operate in the park. And everything that we do is jointly planned and implemented with the National Park Service. All the rangers that that are employed in the national park, they all come from the local communities, but they are all registered as National Park Service employees. So the rangers that work in the park have the powers of arrest because they are under the National Park Service. And that partnership with the National Park Service is really, really critical for everything that we do, because they basically give us the mandate to be able to operate in the park. Because of that partnership with government, we've been able to get a lot of support, I think, from a number of different partners. We get a quarterly amount from the Okomu oil palm plantation, who operates an oil palm plantation right next to the national park. And because they have RSPO, that's the Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil certification for their oil palm, they give us a quarterly amount which goes towards paying the rangers' salaries who patrol the park. So that partnership with various private sector organizations in Nigeria is really, really important to pay for the long-term running costs of the operation of Okomu. But I think, as Sharon Ikeazor stated, partnerships with more private sector organizations in Nigeria, I think, is really, really important, because we need to think about the long-term financial sustainability of these conservation projects. Thank you.
Thank you. So Simi, what about Itasin area first?
Sorry, in Itasin forest, with respect to connectivity, or
no, in respect to support you are having from the government, or you are expecting?
Yes. So I touched on this.
To sustain your efforts.
Yes. So I touched on this earlier on, and as I said, the Ogun State government have pronounced Itasin Forest as a wildlife sanctuary. Now, that still requires its official gazettement as a wildlife sanctuary by the Ogun State House of Assembly. But there is encouragement that that conversation or that pronouncement has been made, and the process is to get the official gazettement moving forward. And engagement continues between the Ogun State government as well as the communities in terms of developing a wildlife sanctuary within Itasin Forest. There has been statements have also made to the community to protect the elephants. But of course, that is difficult in the sense that, there is anger on ground, telling community members who lose cassava harvests every year to, protect the elephants is easier said than done. And that's why it was important to push forward with the electric fence, which at least gives the community members encouragement that something is being done. And then also pushing alternative livelihoods so that there's a real opportunity for economic emancipation. So those are the things that we are seeing on ground, working with the communities, working with the government to ensure that, our dreams, the community's dreams, come to fruition ultimately.
Thank you so much. So in few words, what support does Itasin project need now?
Well, so what support do we need? So I would say the fence is phase. Chili peppers is an extension of phase one. One of the next things we want to do, well, extend the electric fence. So right now we've been able to develop or build an electric fence that's 4 kilometers long. We want to extend that to about 9.6 kilometers to ensure that when we're solving one problem, we're not creating another problem further down the line, because there are other border communities that are affected by the elephant incursions into border farms. One of the things that we are also wanting to do is to develop baseline studies in terms of how many elephants do we have in the forest, how do we go about, I saw a comment, coloring the elephants so that we have the data to be able to push forward. We would like to build a base camp within the community area so that we have a base for operations so that we can then develop a forest management plan and, really hone in on, developing the wildlife sanctuary. So some of those are at least the priority things that we are looking to do, developing or building a base camp, and then funding the baseline studies in terms of the socio-economic side as well as the biodiversity side, so that we actually know what we're dealing with on the community side as well as the elephants themselves.
Thank you so much. Tunde, I would like to come back to our baby elephant. So can you tell us what are the future plans for this baby elephant in Okomu National Parks?
Thank you very much. When we first got the baby elephant, I think the very, very first thing we thought about is, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this thing? And the last thing that we want is to have a tame elephant that we have to look after for the next, 60, 70 years. Elephants eat a lot of food every day. And the last thing we want is to have an elephant that becomes very, very used to people, because there's always a danger of that elephant encountering poachers or people who don't mean well for elephants. The other thing is that, there are only about 200 forest elephants left in Nigeria. So we really, really felt it was important that this baby elephant should return to the breeding population of forest elephants in Nigeria. So at the moment, we think that the baby elephant is about a year old, and our plan is to move the baby elephant from the ranger outpost where it's being looked after at the moment back into the forest. We're building a ranger post with a wildlife enclosure quite deep in the forest in the park. And the idea is hopefully within about a month's time, we will move the baby elephant with some rangers and its keepers to this location deep inside the forest, well away from people, because we want to make sure the elephant doesn't become used to having people around it all the time. And what will happen is we will continue to feed the baby elephant with a mixture of milk and oats and baby formula. But over the next year, we will taper that off, wean the elephant off this formula, and encourage the elephant to eat more and more and more forest vegetation. We hope that at the end of, after a year of being in the forest, one day we'll be able to open the fences of the enclosure. We'll hopefully tag the baby elephant so we can keep track of the baby elephant. And the baby elephant will then be free to walk into the forest and hopefully encounter some of the elephants still living in the forest. And maybe, hopefully, they will readmit the elephant back into their family groups. There are 7 lakes within Okomu National Park, between which the elephants walk throughout the year. And actually, the last time I was in the park, when we were looking for the site where we were going to put the new elephant enclosure, we actually almost ran across a group of elephants who were walking across the park. So we're basically putting the elephant enclosure in between 2 lakes where we know there's a lot of elephant traffic. And we think that, when we release the elephant back into the forest, it will have a very, very good chance of certainly encountering the other wild elephants in the forest. And hopefully they will remember this elephant and they'll readmit it back into one of the family groups in the park. We don't know that this will happen for sure, but we really, really hope it will happen. One of the things is that the elephant is a young male, and young male elephants tend to be solitary anyway, only kind of, encountering or interacting with herds when they want to breed. So if the elephant is solitary for much of its life, but in some way can interact with the other wild elephants and hopefully contribute its DNA to the other forest elephants in the park through breeding, that for us will be a good scenario. But the aspiration is for the elephant to go back to the wild and to be reunited with the wild herd, not to keep the elephant as a pet around humans. So wish us luck. We're on a journey. We don't know where it's going to go, but I hope maybe in a year's time or 2 years' time, we can tell you that the elephant is free and wild in the forest, reunited with its family or its group, and happily breeding and producing young elephants for Nigeria. Thank you.
Oh, interesting. We have several questions in the chat. I'm not sure we are going to have time to cover all the questions, but one of them is the participant would like to know what is like day-to-day looking after a baby elephant, and maybe if you can share with us how it's cost.
So looking after a baby elephant is very, very, very intense indeed. They require a lot of emotional support because when a baby elephant loses its mother, there's a huge amount of trauma involved. So after we rescued the baby elephant, the very first thing we had to do was to put together a team of keepers. We have 5 keepers who look after the elephant 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They basically work in shifts, but at any one time, there are 2 keepers who look after the elephant, feeding the elephant, playing with the elephant, sleeping with the elephant. And the elephant has to be fed every 3 hours. So we have a kitchen nearby where the keepers make up a mixture of milk, baby formula, which is very high in protein, oats, coconut oil, as well as water, and this very, very high calorific feed is given to the baby elephant every 3 hours without fail. But once a week, we make sure that we measure the baby's blood pressure. We look at the blood sugar if we see any forms of illness. The elephant is measured so we can see it's growing. If at any one time the elephant stops feeding, we then have to think about well, why is this happening? We have a vet in Zambia that supports the care of the baby elephant, and we actually have a WhatsApp chat between the carers and the vet and myself and the project manager of Okomu. And every 3 hours, the amount that the baby elephant has drunk, the time that the baby elephant has had taken to drink is put on the WhatsApp chat. Every single time the baby does a pee or does a poo, we take a photograph of that so we can see if the baby elephant has diarrhea, because you want to make sure that if there's any form of illness, you can see that immediately through a change in feeding or a change in its stooling or peeing. So it's very, 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 very intense. And we've been told to budget for about $45,000 a year to be able to feed that baby elephant. Luckily, a company called Friesland Campina in Lagos donated 100 kilos of milk powder. So that will certainly help to offset some of the cost, but we hope that we can get other donations to pay for raising the baby elephant. But you can see that it's very expensive and very intensive, which is why the sooner we can get the elephant back to the wild and the sooner the elephant can become independent of human care, I think the better for the project in terms of cost, but also better for the long-term care of the elephant itself. Thank you.
Wow, amazing. In the same topic, before turning to Simi, participants would like to know if you are able to share briefly your founding strategy, because you talk about thousands of dollars. So can you briefly share your founding strategy with participants?
So one of the things that's really important is to try and make sure that your conservation project has funding from a number of different donors or sources. So the Okomu oil palm plantation, as I said earlier, they give us a certain amount of money every single year that goes towards the salaries and running costs of our rangers. We also get funding from the Leventis Trust, the Leventis Foundation, which is another Nigerian company that operates in agriculture, retail, car assembly, etc. in Nigeria. And the support of these two organizations is very, very important. They've given a long-term 30-year commitment to support the project. We also get funding or support from the Elephant Crisis Fund. We've had support from various companies in Nigeria. But in the long term, we are beginning to think about developing carbon credits and ecotourism as a way of moving the project away from depending on philanthropy towards long-term sustainable finance. This ultimately is the dream, that we shouldn't depend on philanthropy in the long term, but we have private sector funding from ecotourism or carbon credits to support the project. It'll take a while to develop that, but that is what we're hoping to move to in the future. At the moment, we have a diverse funding base from different donors, and that diversity is important, so you're not reliant on just one donor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Turning to you, Simi, you both talk about ecotourism potential. So how difficult is it to build this tourism culture where it does not exist before? Around Itasin, for example, how difficult this could be?
I think from our side, it's difficult because we're in our infancy. We need technical expertise to get our project through the conservation phase we need scientific support to, again, further develop our project. We need additional funding to reduce, human-elephant conflict and improve habitat protection measures so that we create an enabling environment for tourism. But tourism is, and then we also have a significant logging issue within the forest. But I believe if we are able to, get the necessary assistance from our partners, our sponsors, the communities, and the government come together, then we do create an enabling environment for tourism. And I think tourism is a realistic opportunity. Why? The forest sits right on the border of Ogun State and Lagos State, which is accessible via the road networks which have been built and via the Lagos Lagoon, which gives you direct access to Lagos Island, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and the likes, meaning that tourists who want a different experience in Lagos, as opposed to spending a few hours or a day or two at the beach. They want wildlife, they want nature, right? We're giving them an opportunity to experience a West African safari, 2 hours, 3 hours away, depending on whether you're going by road or going via the lagoon from Lagos. So that's really the potential we see. And there's a beautiful island that also is adjacent to the forest, which again presents or creates a number of opportunities such that, we have to also be careful about overbuilding within the, so close to the forest. We want to keep the forest as natural as we can. So one thinks about, limiting the number of sort of lodges that, tourists, visitors can stay in so close to the forest. But this island presents a greater opportunity for, resorts, accommodation near the forest. So I do think that our location is our biggest asset. The idea of having elephants and other wildlife so close to Lagos presents an opportunity for visitors from Lagos, from Nigeria, and internationally with an opportunity to see a Nigerian West African safari. So it is achievable, but I do believe that we need to get the building blocks right, which is what we're working on right now with our sponsors and our partners.
Thank you so much, Simi. So Tunde, what are your thoughts on the development of ecotourism around Okomu?
So I think one of the things that we are very, very lucky with Okomu is that it's a 45-minute drive from Benin City. So it's very accessible for tourism. There's a very, very good road between Benin City and Okomu. And at the moment, really, the main impediment to developing ecotourism in Okomu is literally money. We need to be able to build tourism facilities within the park. And, if you have tourists, then you need dedicated staff to be able to look after tourists. At the moment, we're focused very much on, managing rangers and having staff who are focused on community engagement, because that community buy-in is quite important. So hopefully, I think in the next few years, we'll begin to look at ecotourism feasibility for Okomu. And I think because it's so close to Benin and not that far from Lagos, I think ecotourism is very, very feasible. But it really does depend on access to funds and capital to be able to, first of all, make sure that you have very, very good ecotourism facilities, because you want to make sure that you have a very good tourism offering, and then having the staff and the organizational capacity to be able to handle tourists, because when you have tourists wandering in a forest, you have health and safety issues. There's a lot of logistics needed in making sure that people have a really good tourism experience. But we hope that in the next couple of years, that's something that we can start to develop.
Thank you so much. Honorable Sharon, we have a question for you. We heard about partners' challenges on conservation, and one of the participants would like to know what is the government's greatest challenge in conservation besides funding?
Okay,
So
I would say besides funding, though we still need a lot of funding, it's our biggest challenge, but the worst one is getting the buy-in of local communities. Our people in Africa, they think of the forests and its biodiversity as their gift from God. So getting them to have the mindset of conserving it, that's why alternative livelihood is key in conservation. And as you heard from Simi and Tunde of Annie, using the local communities in their conservation efforts is key. So our greatest challenge is getting the buy-in of our local communities, and the criminal aspect of logging as well. This is what we hope, that the new wildlife law will be totally enforced and we'll be able to surmount that. Thank you. I hope I answered that well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Coming back to you, Simi, we hear about Tunde on the future plan for the baby elephant. So can you also share with us your future plan about Itasin forest and its elephant?
Well, the future plan, I think I've touched on that. So in terms of getting funding is critical to us. We are a smaller NGO compared to our bigger brothers in the field like Annie, but we are doing important work, and funding is critical to be able to improve the livelihoods of the local communities. The local communities are fishermen and farmers. So we have to think deeply about how we can improve their lot. Because a hungry farmer or a hungry community member is not really interested in having conversations about conserving a forest. So we think about how can we develop commercial fishing, for instance. And we say commercial fishing because they are fishermen and they understand fish. So we are not taking them too far away from something that they know. As I mentioned before, we have large tracts of cassava farms and plantations. So how can we add value to that? We could set up a cassava processing plant there as well. And then at least that begins to reduce the pressure on the forest, because we're providing alternative livelihoods to the communities. And then once we're able to introduce some of these alternatives, then or at least start the conversation about introducing these alternatives, then we can focus on, replanting the forest such that we've reduced the logging, and we're actually creating a secure environment for the elephants. And then we can then, of course, talk about the tourism aspects of it, which again presents there's a great opportunity there, as I mentioned, being so close to Lagos and being accessible from Lagos via the waterways and via the road network as well. We have nice rivers that take you into the forest, and it really is a sight to behold. So But as I said, first things first is we really need to continue engaging the communities and making them see that there are alternatives, alternative livelihoods that can be introduced such that there'll be less pressure on the forest, which means that we can then protect the elephants, and which then means that we can then introduce the tourism and the like. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have one more question. This is directed to you, Simi. The question is, you said that now the place is turned to a sanctuary. So is it effective, or there is something need to make the area a sanctuary effectively?
Yes, thanks for that question. So as I said, the Ogun State government has shown a willingness to, well, they've pronounced Itasin Forest as a wildlife sanctuary. Now, declaration requires the laws to be passed. That is for the Ogun State House of Assembly to pass a law declaring Itasin Forest as a wildlife sanctuary. So that would give the legal basis for everything that we want to do, or everything we propose to do within the forest, so that we can, regulate logging and ultimately ban logging. We can, introduce, we have the legal basis to declare zones within the forest or in the forest area, such that this is the farming area, whether it's, cassava farming, or whether this is fish farming and the like. So the first step has been made, which is a pronouncement, but we now need the legal basis of, the declaration by the House of Assembly as a wildlife sanctuary. And, Erin Wildlife Conservation Trust is positioning itself to take over, or to be made the concessionaire of the wildlife sanctuary once the same has been declared by the Ogun State government, which then gives us an opportunity to implement the things that I've mentioned, including the forest management plan, as to how we will, develop the forest itself and its surrounding area, stage by stage, step by step. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you. Thank you so much. For you both, we have a final question. And how do we create a national awareness and pride in Nigeria's elephant? You can both share your thoughts on that. And we're also happy to hear from Honourable Sharon on this question.
I mean, I think it is really, really important that Nigerians know that these elephants exist. Many people, when you tell them that there are elephants in Nigeria, they cannot believe it. Nigerians think that all the elephants were killed a long time ago and they no longer exist in the country. So I think it's really, really important that we have, a big awareness campaign for people to understand that Nigeria still has elephants. But they also need to understand that these elephants are seriously threatened, and that we all need to work together to protect these elephants, both for the benefit of local communities as well as for the benefit of the country. And so certainly I think for me, this is why webinars like this are really, really important. But it'd be great to see this amplified on, through campaigns on television, through campaigns on the radio, so that people have greater awareness of the fact that we do have elephants in Nigeria, but they are in trouble. They are found in only a few
qui
small
sont
places.
en
And
danger
it really is worth
et
us as a country coming together to protect these elephants, both for the benefit of the local communities, but also for the benefit of Nigeria as a nation.
Thank you so much.
Yes, well, just to, I don't want to repeat too much of what Tunde said, and he's covered most of the points. But just to say that there is real surprise that to most people, that elephants still exist in Nigeria, especially in Okomu Forest and in Itasin Forest, so close to Lagos. And in terms of awareness, in addition to broadcasting via TV, we live in a social media world. And if the right platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, just getting out there that these elephants are there and there is a real opportunity here. It is sad that we haven't been able to protect our forests and, our wildlife the same way that our friends in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa have been able to do. That said, it doesn't mean that it's impossible. I think that there is significant interest in Nigeria's wildlife, and it's about harnessing that opportunity. And harnessing that opportunity means that webinars like this, shining a spotlight on Nigerian forest elephants, Nigerian wildlife, and the potential of what we can create in Nigeria by working together with the right partners, with the right organizations, with government. So it's working together for a better future for the elephants, for the communities, and so that we can showcase to the world that we can do it just as well, perhaps even better.
Thank you so much, Simi. Honourable Sharon, are you there?
Yes, I am. They've said it so well. Webinars like this are key, but besides webinars, we ought to have more campaigns on TV, national radios, and even field campaigns. While I was in office, I remember in partnership with Wild Aid Africa, we had Nigeria's popular artists and stars who ran adverts for us on national television, drawing attention to Nigeria's wildlife. I'm sure the Ministry of Environment and the Department of Forestry, not only at the federal level, at state levels, are also trying to have such campaigns going. But we must bear in mind, in terms of conservation, Nigeria is living with the crisis of insecurity. So it's a double-edged sword for us in Nigeria. But I'm sure we can surmount this. And the federal government has started with forest guards. So I hope that this initiatives will be able to protect our forests better and get people more aware of what we have. Then, like Simi said, on social media, they're all aware of the elephants, because each time there's an incident, not just the sad incidents of death and all that, where we see heads of elephants. We had them in the north, in Borno, where we have the Boko Haram, moving from Cameroon, the transboundary elephants. There was a lot of news on that, and people are being aware. And EPI runs a program of our youth ambassadors. So we're getting the young ones more interested in conservation and protection of elephants. And I saw someone from Rugby School, Lagos, who sent a comment. We will get in touch with you for the youth programs that we run under the EPI and friends of EPI as well, to get more schools involved in this, because each child that knows about this will take the story back to their parents. So I hope we'll have much more webinars like this and attract a lot more attention to the situation we have on ground. And thank you again, Annie and Erin. You guys have given me so much hope for the future of our elephants and our protected areas and forests. Thank you, everyone, for listening in.
Thank you, Honourable Sharon. Thank you, Tunde and Simi, for sharing your experience and insight with us today. I would like also to thank all the participants for their excellent question and continuous interest in the future of elephant forest, Nigeria's forest elephant. On behalf of the Elephant Protection Initiative Foundation, we are really grateful for you to joining us today. A recording of the event will be made available through our communication channels. and website. Before letting you leaving to your convenience, we will replay the film from Annie. Over to you, Clara.
What I really want people to take away from this story is hope. It's easy, I think, to get overwhelmed by all the bad news that there is out there. We can turn environmental destruction into a positive story for Nigeria and for the world. Okomu National Park is in the southwest of Nigeria. The thing that makes Okomu so special is that the forests of southwest Nigeria are biologically different from forests elsewhere in the country. And then Okomu also contains a very important population of the critically endangered African forest elephant.
In the last 30 years, the population of our elephants have dropped from about 1,005 or more to a mere 400 in the whole of Nigeria. So we are at the brink of losing our beautiful elephants.
The park faces key challenges. One key challenge is that the southern boundary of the park hasn't been demarcated, and that has led to farm encroachment and logging still taking place in the south of the park. Another big challenge facing the park is poaching. We've dealt with logging to an extent, but poaching is a much more significant problem, and probably quite likely the cause of this baby elephant being found in a neighboring plantation.
It was on Sunday. I was at home and I got a call that they have found a baby elephant in the boundaries of the national park.
So we ran to the scene and we discovered a young male calf that was stranded, seemed to be looking for the mom. We don't know for how long, for more than a day at that time. First, we thought, let's take the animal back to look for the mother in the forest. So we did that. It came back.
The elephants of Okomu are very, very, very scared of people. As soon as the elephants hear you coming, or as soon as they smell you, they start moving. How will you even see the mother or get close to the mother in thick rainforest? You can't. So we had no choice but to help rescue and raise this baby elephant.
This is actually the first time we are seeing the baby elephant at a very close range. And rescuing it, this is our first time too.
What do? As an organization, we're not set up to look after animals. I contacted the Elephant Crisis Fund immediately and asked them if they could put us in touch with some specialists.
I'm in Zambia and I got a call about Nigeria. My first thought was, how can I help these guys? So I supplied some information, there were some phone calls, some messages, but it became apparent to me that the best way to do this is to get on site.
Every animal rehab is unique. There's so much you can read in textbooks, but hands-on is rehabbing.
To start with, the most important thing is dealing with its nutrition. They've lost the ability to feed from their mother, so we then have to replicate what's in mum's milk, and that does change over months and years. When elephant mums produce their first milk, it's high in lactose for 3 or 4 weeks. After a month, the lactose drops like it's fallen off a cliff.
Elephant rescue also takes a long time. We're talking of years. So you're going to now need a committed team of individuals that are dedicated to this animal's life.
You can tip the bottle a little more. Up. You can, just this hand, you can tip up. That's it. Just to make sure that you see, now you can hear him. That's the noise you're looking for. That's the same as drinking from mum. Well done, guys. Thank you. Small signs are what keep you going. It's relationship with the carers. If it's starting to be happy to see them, it's starting to want to be with them, that's a small sign that it's accepting its changed circumstances. little things like, oh, that's the first day it's done a mud bath. That's a very natural behaviour. It's a sign that mentally the elephant is feeling more comfortable. So we can look for small signs everywhere.
Every day he's with us is a huge win. Every day the stakes get higher. We are breathing easier now, but we know that we still have a long way to go.
Having to rescue a baby elephant is terribly sad. Yes, it's cute, yes, it's sweet, but the fact that we've had to rescue a baby elephant shows you that there's something very, very wrong.
If we get everything right with keeping the elephant healthy, the most important thing is we protect the habitat they're going to go back to. Because there's not much point in rehabilitating any animal to go back in the bush if there is no bush.
Now we are at the point where Nigerians must decide, what are we going to do next? Are we going to be committed to saving what's left of our biodiversity?
This baby elephant could become a great symbol for the rescue of the park. It's important that we communicate why we have an orphan baby elephant on our hands and how it's indicative of a problem that we still need to solve.